Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial.
Hello.
Hi.
It's Confidently Controversial.
The podcast.
Not the musical.
Or the lunchbox.
No, it's the podcast. This is the right place. I'm Emily Paul.
And I am Kimberly Tweed.
Yes, you are. Good job.
Thank you. Are we done?
Okay, goodbye. Welcome to the show today. Excited to be here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to
I
hear
was like, what are we going to talk about this morning? A pre-show. And then I was like, well, we can talk about what everyone wants to hear about, the weather.
It's hot, guys. It's humid.
I was walking my dog yesterday, and there was some thunder in the morning, but we didn't have any rain. And the lady down the street posited a conspiracy theory that the thunder was some sort of warfare.
What?
Because she's like, you know that they can control the weather.
Oh, don't you just love when you run into someone and they have a conspiracy theory?
I do love it.
And you have to be like,
Yeah. Right. So,
and act like they're not insane when they tell you these things?
Yes, it was fun. And I was like, oh, my dog, she wants to go. But
Oh, I hear something.
Right.
I gotta
I think
go.
my husband's calling me.
Just run away down the street.
Yeah.
Do not love a crazy conspiracy. I like a fun conspiracy.
I like to hear them. I do like to hear them because I'm just like, oh, people's brains are broken, just like, but all in different ways.
Yeah, I don't like that because it makes me very upset that people think these things.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting the way that you can be manipulated into these things too. Like I don't know. It's a whole thing, Emily. I don't know if you know this.
Well, I think the thing I like about a conspiracy theory is it's almost the same thing that I like in terms of like when you're watching a movie and there's an Easter egg, or if you're like
right.
like you know what I mean, where there's like
Yeah.
something like in Disney where there's like a little Easter egg, something fun to find, a hidden Mickey.
Sure.
Like, love a hidden Mickey. Love like to know something like with the Avengers movies where there's a little Easter egg in there. Love that kind of stuff. But I feel like that's the same thing. That's the same thing
Right.
that people have with conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
except they're looking for them in the real world and they're like, oh, this means that
Right.
liberals eat babies.
Yeah. But like, I mean, and it's the same kind of stuff that people do with Taylor Swift. Like they're like, oh, well, she wore this shoe on this day, which means she's going to release an album at this time on this night. And it's just like, what?
Yeah, does anyone really operate in that way where they're
Right.
putting like secret messages out there?
Constant secret
We
messages.
should start doing that on the
Yeah,
show.
let's do it. We can be like the Beatles. Just play our podcast backwards, guys.
You'll find out that we're Satan worshippers.
Something about a walrus.
Yeah, so
Emily's actually dead, like Paul.
inside maybe, but yeah, not in real life. So the thing I was thinking about talking about was something that I hate.
Okay. I'm always up for that.
I really hate things that skitter.
Skitter?
Skitter.
Okay.
And I was thinking today in the car ride over here, what is the difference between, because bugs don't freak me out. And I like to feel, sometimes I like to feel like I'm tough. Like if there's a bug, I'm not afraid of it. I'll go get that bug.
You will. I've called you before to get a bug for me.
Yeah. Like, you just got to go in and you just got to get the bug. If the bug's causing problems, you take it away. But in general, I don't have problems with bugs. And I won't kill them unless it's causing a problem.
Sure. Okay.
In which case I will.
Okay.
Skittering to me is like an animal.
Yeah.
That moves quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a mouse.
Sure.
Or like a lizard.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the skinks that have infested my front porch.
Oh.
Kim.
No.
So many.
Ugh.
I know. And they skitter. Ugh. And the neighborhood kids like found a bunch of dead ones. And yes, and my son maybe threw one at me yesterday, and they think it's hysterical that I scream like a high pitch scream, like very embarrassed. But I'm not usually like that. Except
I remember
with the skink.
your children one time. I had parked my car in your driveway, and we had gone somewhere together. And I left my car behind, and I came home, and there was a giant snake skin draped over like the door handle of my car or something like that.
They're
and
tricksters.
You had to be like, get out of here! Take this off of it, Skip's car.
Yeah, I don't like snakes either.
Yeah,
They don't they slither. They don't skitter. They slither.
Sure.
I don't like a slither.
Okay. What about frogs? I'm definitely afraid of
No,
frogs.
because it could just jump.
But that's not a skitter.
That's a jump in your face.
I know. Ugh.
I had a roommate in college.
There was a frog?
And I kissed it, and she became my roommate. No, she worked at a pet store while we were roommates.
Disgusting.
And she one day brought home a frog as a pet, and it was one of those like slick ones.
Ew.
Yeah, right. And I remember I was just like, listen, that can't come out of its home when I am home.
Right.
Like, that must stay in its little clear little plastic case. And I remember she was like, I came home once and it was in her hand. And she was like, what's the problem? And like, the terror of the fact that at any moment it could jump and it could land on my face.
I've had multiple horrible experiences with frogs, but
What did they do to you? I will kill them.
one time I was walking, another dog walking story. I was walking, not my dogs, my mother-in-law's dogs, and she had this, like, she lived on, like, this lake.
Okay.
And you could, walk all the way around the lake, and it was lovely and nice. And then I got halfway through, and there were trees and, like, overhang, and then there were dozens and dozens and dozens of frogs. And I swear, if you had clocked me some sort of world record, I was dragging these little dogs out of the woods, like, get me out of here.
They were flying behind you by their leashes.
I was so afraid that they were going to get in my hair. That's my fear, is that they're going to get in my hair.
That's a good fear.
What?
That's a good fear.
Yeah. I've also accidentally squished a frog before.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like with your foot?
Yeah, with like shoes, and they weren't my shoes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because because they hop out of one way and I hopped another way, and it just wasn't good.
And then that's even worse that you squished one.
Yeah, oh God, it was terrible. And I was like, oh, just held my foot up at the air.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. That's fun.
Sure.
So guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. I like to say that in the beginning because I do really appreciate everybody who listens.
Yes, we do.
Everyone who's following us on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all the fun things. We certainly appreciate it, you guys. And what we do for you is each week we make another episode.
We do.
We do. And this week, I really, the work that we do is we think and we stress when we have to pick the movie that we're going to do. So, I was saying to Kim the other day, it's so hard because it really goes by a feeling of not just what's going to make sense and maybe what we haven't covered, but it's also like we have to watch these movies.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do I really want to watch?
Agreed.
Because sometimes I don't want to watch all the ones that are on my list, even though they might be good ones.
Yeah, it definitely is a weird thing to choose because we've definitely watched movies that I've picked so far that I was like, never even thought, A, that I would pick them, or B, that they would be so close to the beginning of our episodes. I was like, oh, this one's on the list, but it's probably going to be a minute.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, let's watch this.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So, I was looking down the list and just thinking like, well, what do I feel like watching today? And what do I feel like talking about? And, a zone we haven't gotten into yet, which was a big thing when I was a kid, sci-fi.
Oh, no.
I know. I knew you'd be so mad about it. That's the other thing. I kind of love when Kim is upset about a pick that I have. And I kind of love making her watch movies that
She doesn't want to watch.
she doesn't want to watch. But I feel like you're going to like this one. I don't think you've watched it.
Okay.
But I think you're going to like it because while it is sci-fi, it's nice. It's cute.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Okay. It's not Star Wars.
Okay.
But I'm going to talk about Star Wars a little bit because when you talk about 80s sci-fi, you kind of have to talk about sci-fi. When you talk about 80s sci-fi, you kind of have to talk about Star Wars because the first Star Wars came out in 1977 and it just impacted so much. I mean, when we were kids, Star Wars was everywhere. We had so many Star Wars toys. We watched all of those movies. I feel like they must have been on TV. I know I went to the theater to see, I remember seeing Jedi. I may have also seen Empire Strikes Back in the theater, but I was very little.
Okay.
But, you know, we were both born in 77, so I can't imagine that we went to the movies to see it.
No, that's the first one.
That's the first one.
Empire Strikes Back.
No, A New Hope is the first one. Okay? The second... You're so mad about Star Wars.
No, I'm not mad about it. So
How did you escape Star Wars
I
as a
didn't
kid?
escape it. It was part of my life. It was just a smaller part than yours.
Did you watch it when you were a
Yeah,
kid?
we watched it.
Did you have the toys?
Yeah. My brother had this thing that I referred to as an at-at, and you told me it wasn't called an at-at, and then we found out it was called an at-at. He had that big giant one.
Okay, yes. The Walker.
Yeah, the at-at.
Okay.
That's what
The
it was
Imperial
called.
Walker. Whatever. But, yeah. So, Star Wars, huge thing. This movie is not Star Wars.
Thank God.
Yes, but it was... So, this movie came out in 1984.
Okay.
It's rated PG, and it's a sci-fi adventure movie.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of become more of a cult classic. People still do talk about it. It was made for $14 million. It kind of famously used, was one of the first movies to really utilize like CGI effects.
Oh, okay.
So
I bet they're really good.
so in reading and researching with this, it's kind of like, well, they are for the time,
Sure.
but they also lean into, like, one of the articles that someone had written about it kind of praised them for being like, well, they didn't need it. They're not trying to be like, this is real. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to be like, this is what space is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because I was thinking about space too, and as we all know, I'm afraid of space, and yet I like a sci-fi. But I feel like these sci-fis, like Star Wars and this movie, I like them because it's not real space, and it's science fiction. So, like, there's no real rules of space.
Okay.
It's not like space where if you touch space, you're going to implode and freeze. And there's all the scariness happening. It's just like space.
If you touch space, you're going to implode.
Well, that's in, like, real space. That's what happens. It's a vacuum, Kim.
Okay.
It's scary.
I get it.
It's
I get
very
it.
scary. But I do like these kind of movies. And growing up, you know, my parents, in addition to Star Wars being very big in our house, I feel like we watched the Star Trek movies.
You did. I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah, like, my parents really like Star Trek. And we love, like, Next Generation with
We were not a Star Trek family.
Jean-Luc Picard. We went, I remember going to the movies to see the ones that came out, like Wrath of Khan and all of those movies. Like, my parents way into it.
Interesting.
Yes.
I would have not have guessed that about them.
Really? My mom especially. My
Really?
mom really likes Star Trek. Yeah, a lot. So, so this movie, I feel like, fell into that as well. We definitely watched it a lot. I'm going to go ahead and tell you the movie because you're not going to guess it.
Okay, who's in it?
Who's in it? I'll tell you first. Lance Guest.
Okay.
Very cute.
Okay.
Big crush on this guy. Very, very cute. Robert Preston, who you will recognize by his face. He was more like he was in, like, musical-y things. This was his last film before he passed away.
Oh, sad.
And Mary Stewart from Weekend at Bernie's is in this movie. Yeah.
Got it.
So
Good
this
for her.
movie is, do you have any guesses?
No.
The Last Starfighter.
Okay.
Have you seen this?
I've heard of it.
Okay. It's a great movie.
Probably. I feel like I've seen it, but I don't know.
So the premise of this movie is the premise of this movie is that the main character plays a video game and he wins the video game. And it turns out that video game is really a test to see if you have what it takes to be a starfighter. And when you win it, you become a starfighter. So, like, they come and they get him, and he's a starfighter.
I always think that the games that I play on my phone are actually a test.
Wait, what? Okay, now back to that conspiracy theory thing. Yeah. I'm ready to hear one. Tell me the conspiracy.
No, don't you ever play a game on your phone and you're, like, really doing good and you're like, oh, this is a test to see.
See what?
I don't know.
How smart you are?
Yeah.
And then you're going to get, like, a random email one day that's like, we saw how good you are, Kim.
Right. We need you to do this thing.
This is the government. You've passed the Candy Crush test.
Right.
You're the smartest of them all.
We saw the way you put those pieces together and cleared the board.
Yeah, we need
Your
you.
spatial relations skills are what we need in the government.
A car is coming to pick you up right now. Get in the car.
Be ready.
Well, yeah, so that's what this movie is.
Okay, cool.
So this movie was, so going back to Lance Guest, who is the main character in this movie, he was also in Jaws 2, Prior to this movie, he was in Halloween 2.
Is he related to Christopher Guest?
I don't believe so, no. But yeah, he was in Halloween 2. This movie was directed by Nick Castle, who also connected to Halloween, but the more recent Halloween movie, Halloween Kills, he directed. He also directed from the 80s Escape from New York. He directed The Boy Who Could Fly, which I brought up recently because as an autistic character, and Hook with...
Dustin Hoffman.
No, Dustin. Yeah, he's in that, and so is
Robin Williams.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
That was a test. The government will be here soon.
Finally.
So the movie was written by a writer named Jonathan Betuel. So Jonathan Betuel is kind of seems like an interesting character to me. He published a novel when he was 21 years old that was called The Dog Fighter. So he likes fighting.
Okay.
The movie, he was a cab driver when he wrote this film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the movie was really inspired by 80s arcade culture, and also at the same, he went to an arcade and he's seeing all these kids playing these video games, and at the same time he was reading King Arthur. So King Arthur, the Sword and the Stone, that's how he gets Excalibur. So he kind of married those two ideas together, which is kind of really cool. He also wrote a movie from the 80s. He didn't do a lot, but he also wrote a movie from the 80s called My Science Project, which it was made in 1985. And as I looked at it, it had Dennis Hopper in it and it had some other names. And it looked like a kid's movie. It was about how a science project opens a portal or something. And I was thinking to myself, this seems like a movie that I probably would have watched, but I could not remember having watched it. We would have been the target audience for this movie. It missed. The target
add it to your list.
I'll add it to my list. Maybe we'll watch it one day. But the interesting thing with this is that because this movie has had a lot of cult following and is really considered this classic sci-fi movie, there's been talk of there being a reboot or there being a remake of this movie. And you would think this would be prime for that kind of a thing.
Sure.
In fact, there has been talk of it over the years, and Steven Spielberg was interested in doing something with it, and some other big name directors.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't.
I'm surprised they haven't too. But this guy, Jonathan Betuel, there's a lot of controversy, behind the scenes controversy in terms of who owns the rights to it. And then this guy, the writer, he owns some sort of rights to it, and he is very much no, there will never be a remake. Though he did talk about making it into a TV show, which I guess could be interesting for something like this. I don't know.
The way they do TV shows now, you can make things good.
You could, but it also seems like maybe it doesn't seem like he's done a lot, but it's almost like he's holding on to this thing. He's very protective of it, which is weird to me.
Take the cash, bud.
Yeah, seriously. My God. But yeah, so this movie to me is just full 80s sci-fi awesomeness. It's that idea, again, that video games weren't a worthless waste of time, which I feel and this movie was maybe one of the original movies that kind of brought that idea to light.
It translates to real skills or something.
Right, because you can imagine when video games first came out, people were like, well, you're wasting all your time
Well,
on
they
this.
still say that.
They still say
and
that.
And I still say that to my husband all the time.
Yeah, I say that to my children as well. I mean, there are more... I would say maybe now more than ever there are more transferable skills with video games. And people do there's professional gamers out there.
Gamers. And I have tried to play one of the current video games with a controller. I cannot do it.
No, I can't be in that space. That 3D space.
I don't understand how to move the thing versus the thing and the thing.
I keep walking into a wall.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can do old school Mario where you just go across the screen in one direction.
2D or something.
2D.
1D,
that's whatever it is. I'm good with it. Yeah, that's my level of video game.
I can do Mario Kart too, but
Ugh, I can't. I'm not interested.
But I get all tense. My body gets all tensed up.
Yeah, I don't like it. My children like it. My husband will play video games. My kids are always like, Mom, come play video games. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
But you liked it when you were a kid. You liked playing Super Mario, Nintendo.
Yeah, I would say I liked it. I don't think that I was ever really, really, really into it.
I feel like we were
good at
a little too old.
Well, I don't know, though, because I remember the first time I ever played, Mario Brothers or experienced, a Nintendo was at a sleepover party. when maybe in like 5th grade. So, I mean, it's pretty young.
Yeah, I know, but I just still feel like we were just like getting to the age where we were focused on other things.
When they got really big.
Because I feel like my brother and my sister both played the Nintendo constantly. And I feel like I was into it. Like, we played all the Super Mario Brothers, the Duck Hunt, the Power Pad.
Absolutely. Track and field.
Track and field, right.
Yep.
But you figured out how to cheat real easily. Do you remember that?
I love the kayaking. I didn't have the Power Pad.
Oh, okay.
So we did it like,
I think we still have our Power Pad.
Oh, let's go play. That'd be so fun. No, I like Contra because you could win it pretty easily.
Remember Paperboy?
Yes. Yeah, there were so many. And Marble Madness.
I didn't have that one.
Zelda. Yeah, my kids like the new Zeldas, like, are awesome. And my kids really love them. But yeah, video games. I do remember my uncle had an Atari.
Okay.
So my uncle was only like, he was a teenager when I was a little kid. So, because he's a lot younger than my mom, obviously. So yeah, he had an Atari, and sometimes we would be able to play the Atari. And I feel like even after he left home, he left his Atari there. So we were, all the grandkids were allowed to play with it.
Nice.
So interesting with this, this movie was supposed to be, like, Atari had a game developed to kind of be a support, to come out in support of this. But the high ups at Atari, like, had everything ready to go. They even had a special console that they were going to market that went along, that mirrored the one in the movie. However, they saw the movie in post before it went out, and they all decided it wasn't going to be a big movie. So they didn't even put it out. They didn't think it would make money. So they didn't even put it out. Now, years and years later, there have been games that go along with this, but they're not billed as The Last Starfighter.
So were they wrong? Was it a big movie?
So it was made for $14 million. It actually was only shot in 38 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see if that shows.
We'll see if that shows at all. And it made $29 million, so it doubled its money.
Yeah,
like, that's
I think
pretty
that's good for that time.
I feel like it's good for that time. I mean, I think they did a good job.
So different, yeah.
And I also feel like it's stood the test of time. It's like, I feel like it's still talked about.
Well, we'll decide today.
I talk about it.
We'll decide today if it's stood any time.
Yes, it absolutely. It's funny, the last time I saw this movie was when I was like in just out of college. I went to California and I visited a friend of mine, and we were like, let's go rent a movie. And we were at like the video store, and we both saw this, and we're like, oh my God, let's watch this. So the last time I saw this movie, I was in California. So, but I feel like I liked it even when I watched it then.
Great.
It was good. The last thing I want to say about this movie that I'm really kind of excited about to see it is that they hired this when they were doing the music for this, like creating the score. They went like the commentary, the quote is, they went full Star Wars. So the guy, they wanted a grand score for this movie. So like they got like the huge orchestra. Like, it's supposed to be this amazing score, which is kind of funny to me because it doesn't seem like that kind of a movie.
I don't know. Space always inspires a great score, doesn't it?
Or Fear. Fear or a great score, one or the other. But yeah, so I feel like it was very much impacted by Star Wars, this movie. Another interesting thing with this is that a DeLorean plays a very key role in this movie, but this movie came out before Back to the Future. Like, this movie came out about a year before Back to the Future. Yeah, so I'm really excited to watch it with you. You've never seen this.
I don't know. I'll let you know. I don't remember it. If I saw it, it was probably like a one and done kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll see.
We'll see. Well, let's go, and we'll be right back.
Controversial.
All right, guys, we're really excited because we have to tell you about
Blue Wire Media.
Woo!
Blue Wire is an award-winning, full-service marketing agency and production company that helps businesses succeed. How do they do that, Kim?
How?
They do that with videos, photos, websites, social media production stuff. They do consulting, design. These guys are full service for all of your marketing needs.
Yes, and I can tell you personally, firsthand, that I have worked with Mr. Steven Aceto, who is the owner, operator, business creator, extraordinaire.
All of those things.
Of Blue Wire Media. And he's just one of my favorite people to work with because he's a really creative person. And he's always taken every project that we've worked on to the next level. So
go check out Blue Wire Media at bluewiremedia.com/cc and learn more about all the great things that Blue Wire can do for you.
do it.
Confidently controversial.
Hi.
Hi. What
back.
the shit?
Diarrhea. Oh, Scepter. We're just going to say a lot of words from the movies right now. Oh, man. What did you think?
I mean, I wasn't thrilled by it, although I did laugh harder than I have in my entire life at a certain point. But
We had to say what it was that made you laugh.
So I don't know if I can jump right into telling you what it was because it was about the turtle turd man.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack, I guess, before we get there.
His wife Wade.
So, why don't you? I mean, I talked a little bit about what this movie was in the first half, so I
think
don't.
you explained it pretty
there's
well.
not a lot to it.
No, but yeah. So it's this guy Alex. He lives in a trailer park with like a bunch of very close knit neighbors.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they make it to be like they're all poor living in this mobile home where like everyone's a little too close.
Know.
Like he's like in his room and he's like all he can do is hear like his neighbors, and it sounds like they're all kind of like stuck there. Where it's like, oh,
Yeah,
I guess
I
we'll
don't
do the
think
same thing again.
Being poor has anything to do with it. No.
Okay,
I mean,
couldn't get a loan.
Well, yeah, but
Can't go to college.
right. Okay, it has a little bit to do with it, but anyway. So they live in this place, and they're all, a close knit community. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of like I guess his mom's the manager of the trailer park.
Yeah, it looks like that.
And then,
But there's
there's
also a waitress.
Also a waitress, but there's also seems to be like a bar or a liquor store or some kind of shop on the premises
I don't know.
of the Starbright.
Yeah, like a little place like where you could get some coffee and you could get
and beer
some, like,
because there's like beer signs in there.
right. So it looks like there's like maybe a general store
You
in
get
the
some
center.
snacks.
It reminds me of like a campground.
Yeah.
Right. Like I grew up by a
Gross.
campground that well, I grew up by a campground that was like that where they had like a little shop in town. But we actually used to ride our bikes there all the time and play video games because they had a little arcade there. Mm-hmm. And they had like a little store where you could buy candy and other little things.
Essentials for your campground needs.
Right.
So but there's a video game outside and it's
the Last Starfighter.
Starfighter.
It's not the Last Starfighter, it's Starfighter or something.
They don't know he's the last one yet.
No, he isn't the last one yet. But yeah, so he gets recruited because he
So he beats the top score on the thing and
right.
He's like
the whole neighborhood excited about it. The entire trailer park.
He's like about to beat the top score, and the neighbor's like, "Come on over! He's about to do it!" And they like call him over, and like everybody, like all these grannies and stuff, are all like around cheering him on and excited about it,
as if they know about this game. As if in real life, all of those people wouldn't be like, "It's a waste of your time. It's the devil's."
But I think we're
game.
supposed to understand that Alex wants more out of life. He wants to get out of this trailer park. He wants to move on and out and above, and that's why he's reflecting on the fact that the same thing happens all the time, and he can repeat the conversations because he's bored with this life. He's bigger than this life.
He is more. Mm-hmm. We see that he's better than other people.
Sure.
He's stuck, and he doesn't want to be stuck.
No.
He's got big dreams.
Big dreams. Hopes and dreams.
Everybody who comes to Hollywood's got a dream. And Alex definitely has a dream, but I think that so then he gets recruited, he goes to space. The space aliens that he goes to see are mostly have male pattern baldness, have like the horseshoe.
Super weird grouping of alien types in this movie.
Right.
Like, so he gets recruited by one called Centauri, who talks about himself in the third person.
At first, yeah, he does that. He's very much... So the actor who played him, whose name was Robert Preston, I mentioned him earlier, so this was his last movie.
Okay.
But he played the Music Man.
You could tell.
Famously.
He was very, like... This guy got ripped off a Broadway stage and then stuck into a movie, because he was, like, jazz handy through the whole thing.
Throughout the whole... He's like, hello, I'm Centauri.
Right.
Da-di-da-da-da. Yeah, he didn't really fit. Like, his whole look was very, like I said, he's very Columbo.
Yeah, Hugh did not fit into the movie at all, and he was just like, "This is what I'm wearing." Like, it was like very much like he wasn't doing
But
it.
it almost reminded me of, like, he's supposed to be like almost like a Doctor Who type thing,
Like
where
time traveler, but then also he's like a space cowboy, like a space bandit or something like that, because he like goes and like
he wheels and deals.
yeah, and he's like he got Alex to come and he got money for that.
Right, and he kind of says, and they're all like, they kind of like shit on him a little bit, and he's just like, hey, didn't you know how long it took? Because no, they didn't want Earthlings.
Right.
And he's like, no,
Because they're not fully developed.
They're not fully developed, and they're not an official part of the Space Legion.
Yeah, sure.
The League of Planets. I don't know.
Whatever.
We're not a fish, so we can't be in the army. We can't go to war. We
Yeah.
can't do the war, even though it affects us. It will
It
impact.
might, yeah.
It might impact Earth. So he's, but it turns out that Alex doesn't really. It's fine because Alex doesn't really want to be there anyway, right?
Doesn't want to be where. Oh, and
He doesn't want to be a starfighter.
No.
Like, he gets all the way up there, and they're just like, oh, I thought Centauri, I thought you said this guy wanted to be a starfighter. And he's like, yeah, who wouldn't want to be a starfighter? And he's like, yeah, I don't want to be a starfighter.
Right.
Take me home.
Yeah.
And, like, in the meantime, in order for him to be away in outer space and for no one to know that he's gone,
Which,
they put a beta robot in his place, and it, like, takes on his whole look. And
But it takes a minute for him to take on the whole look, because at first it's like a skin sack or whatever. Skin bag, what do they
there's
call
a
it?
lot of really, like, this movie really, between, like, the practical effects and the effect, like, the CGI effects, really amazing stuff. The practical effects were, like, so great, and like they're so fake looking with like eyeballs popping out.
Yeah, I thought it was funny
and,
that
like,
we talked about like
latex.
slimy frogs in the beginning of the thing, because there were a lot of slimy frog aliens.
There were like melting wax stuff happening, and then like a lot of very masky looking aliens were all there together.
Yeah, and a lot of them look. I know you said it's
they
not.
Don't look like Star Wars.
It does.
To you, it does. They all look alike to you, don't they? All the sci-fi characters look alike.
They
to you.
do.
They don't at all. These ones were not as good.
Okay,
like they're not.
That's
as
what I'm saying. It was like a rip-off. Like they had the same kind of music, the same kind of alien.
The music was like I said, they wanted to go the full Star Wars.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And they had this epic music throughout the whole thing. And he goes up into space, and meanwhile, it's very like Beta. I had said while we were watching, I don't think I had said it before, but you can tell that the shots, a lot of the scenes that had the Beta Alex in them. Mm-hmm. He looks weird because he has a wig on, because they were shot after the fact, because people really enjoyed Beta Alex. He tested well with test audiences.
They should have put like a hat on him or something like that. Like, I just don't. They should have gone the Thor route in Adventures in Babysitting and put a hat over that.
Put
wig
a hat
or
on that
something.
wig. Yeah, that wig was not good. But I mean, I guess it kind of worked because he's supposed to be a robot. He's supposed to be fake anyway.
Yeah, he reminded me of the guy from Today's Special.
Yeah, the actor Alex, the guy who played Alex.
Yeah,
I liked him. I
know
still
you did.
like him.
He's your type.
Lance Guest. I have to say, it's funny, if you look on his IMDb, the photo that he's using in the IMDb fully looks like he just took it at his computer at home.
Like it's like old man beard, right?
He's old. Yeah, he's like older, and like he's just sitting in front of. It looks like he's just sitting in front of a computer at his house.
Probably did.
I know. I like that though.
You do?
I mean, I just feel like it's like look at him. He's just like us.
Okay, sure. Celebrities, they're just like us.
Celebrities, old time celebrities. Lance Guest, he's just like us. I really enjoyed his. He's not a. I mean, his acting was. You know,
it was fine.
It was fine.
It wasn't
for
great.
what it was.
Yeah.
It was fine. But overall, pretty interesting. I mean, I kept thinking about, as we were watching this movie, the thing I kept going back to was, you know, we've talked on this program a lot and my husband has given me a lot of crap about us not picking quote, I'm doing quote, finger quotes, boy movies. And I would categorize this definitely as a boy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly a boy movie. You hate it.
No, I don't hate it. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't very good.
Sure. I thought it was fun. It was fun. But I just feel like, and I'm thinking like, well, what's the message? If this is like, you know, for teenage boys or somebody interested in this, and it's kind of like, okay, people just haven't realized your greatness yet.
Sure.
Like, you are great. You're destined for these great things. You might just be playing video games, but really just you are right to think that how wonderful you are. For sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
I think that's what it's saying.
And someday your prince will come. and sweep you away
and
to outer space.
His name will be Centauri, and he'll take you up into outer space where there will be a full turtle turd of a character,
a navigator,
whose wife looks exactly like him, and except has boobs and a fur collar.
And it's amazing.
I've never seen Kim laugh as much.
I cried laughing when I saw this picture. I will put it all over our Instagram. It's going to be my new profile picture for everything. God, it delighted me.
It was pretty great. Some other things that I thought were interesting messages in this, like at one part where when he doesn't want to be the starfighter, they're fully just like, what are you, a coward?
Right.
You don't want to do this? You're a coward.
Right.
And the other thing, so there's a bad guy in this. Zur, who is trying to take down, like, I don't know. I can't even get into, like, the convolutedness of what they're fighting against. Like,
but that was his father?
Yeah, he's got daddy issues, but they're trying to take down the frontier, which protects the energy, and that's what makes the galaxy that they're in great. I don't know, but
Sure.
but they're trying to destroy it, or I don't understand exactly what's happening. But he's leading this other race of people, these other aliens, because he knows how they can, like, infiltrate the frontier.
The butt boob heads?
The butt boob heads are like the good aliens, but he's a butt boob head who's a full butt. Like he's bad,
Right?
So
because he's got that metal piece attached to his head.
He does, and he has his
Scepter.
This is my favorite thing about this movie. So he's a bad guy, and at one point, like when you first like meet him and he's being all mean on his ship, someone's like, "Sir, your scepter is here," and he's like, "Oh yes, give me my scepter." And his scepter is just like this fully phallic.
Yeah.
Like, it reminded me of those things you get in Disney that blow the bubbles off the end of it. Maybe like a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't huge. It didn't go
it
to
was
the
like
floor.
a flashlight shaft.
And at the top of it, it had like bat wings coming out.
Spiky pokes.
That were like shaped like bat wings. And then out of the center of it, he like pressed a button or something and like a space knife came out of the center of it.
Or a regular knife.
Like, but you would think if it's like a cool scepter, it's a cool space scepter, wouldn't it shoot like lasers at you?
You would think so.
But it
he
doesn't.
And he just carries it around for the
And
whole
he's so excited about it.
Right.
He's like a baby with his like thing. He's like, my scepter.
And he doesn't utilize it when he gets attacked either.
Well, because it's not like it gives it, like, that's the thing that's weird. It doesn't give, usually, in a movie, you get a scepter. You get the large penis thing.
Right.
And it gives you power.
Right.
Because penises give power.
I see.
Okay. So he gets his sceptery,
I wish you could see Emily's
his sceptery penis thing, and he has that, but it gives him no power, and it just has a little pokey knife on the top.
Right.
Which in outer space, I feel like...
It's like one of those guns that also has a knife on it.
Yes. Yeah, but it doesn't have a gun.
Yeah.
Right. It just has like a knife. It looks like a child's toy, and you had to get... And it's not even like a long sword knife. It's like a short, like...
It's not that short.
That's what he said. It's pretty short. Your space knife is not impressing anyone.
Right.
But he kills like one person with it.
Oh, he does?
Like one of those aliens. And he just happens to cut it with the knife while they're in a melee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just saw that he got dragged away. And he's like, no, oh no.
Did he escape in the end?
Yes, they said he was still free and roaming the galaxy, setting it up for...
Yeah, so why won't this guy
one.
just let it be a part two?
I saw that there was like a poster, and I don't know if it was a fake poster, but it was like what is this movie called? Starfighter 2?
The Last Starfighter.
The Last Starfighter. There was like a Starfighter 2 poster, but it was a girl on it.
Okay.
Which I would like to see. Okay, so at the end, he takes the girlfriend, first of all, he comes back to Earth.
Yes.
And he's
in the end, after he's beaten
everybody, which whatever, I don't even know how it happened.
You know how it happened. It happened with the Death Blossom.
Oh, right. Oh,
Death Blossom.
God.
Can I do it?
Yeah.
Should I do it?
Yeah.
That's how he said. That's how he asked if he can engage the Death Blossom. He just goes, "Should I do it?"
You want me to do it?
You want me to do it?
I'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. You want me to do it? Hey, sir.
Should I do the Death Blossom?
Do the Death Blossom. Okay. And then the ship just like spins around and shoots out lasers.
Different colored lasers.
Yes. But that fully reminded me of like an Atari game where things just spin around and shoot out lasers.
For sure. And it's like the penultimate...
you beat the big boss.
Right, like in the Mario movie, it's the donkey thing or the turtle thing or whatever.
So you were going to talk about the girl. And they come back.
He comes back to Earth.
After the Death
Which
Blossom.
he's able to come back and forth. He comes back a couple times.
Yeah.
It's
not a big deal.
Not a big deal,
Yeah.
seemingly.
Yeah.
So he comes back to Earth. Everybody's like, oh, your spaceship. Oh, my God. They, like, believe it right away. They believe it right away.
And that reaction is fully, like, what it is. At first, they're just like, it's a spaceship. And then they see Alex, and they're like, oh,
Right.
you're a spaceman now, Alex?
Yeah. And they're like, okay, we get it. And Turtle Turd comes off. And he's just like, yeah, he saved the galaxy and also Earth. And they're like, hooray.
I did like the part where the old lady was like, how do you do? And he's like, I do well. Because he, too, is very musical theater-y.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
very
he's like
actory.
the gold one in Star Wars.
C-3PO?
Yeah.
He's not like C-3. I mean, not really. But anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, the gold one.
He does look like his type of alien does also look like the aliens kind of in Alien Mine, which is another great movie from the 80s.
Sure.
But anyway, go ahead. Continue. what you're saying.
So he comes back to Earth. They're all excited for him. He sees his girlfriend Maggie, and they smooch. And he's like, okay, I got to go back because they want him to, rebuild the Starfighter army or whatever.
Right, because he's the last Starfighter.
Yes, we get it. and so he comes back. So he's like, I got to go back. And she's like, what? You're leaving? And he was like, well, I want you to come. There's only room on the ship for me, Turtle Turd, and you, Maggie.
You're right.
And,
but you got to come right now.
Right. You don't get to say goodbye to any of your friends or family.
You don't
get to pack anything. You don't get to think about what this means for your life and for your future. Get on the ship. Or get away from me.
Right. Like maybe you had plans for things you wanted to do,
Sure.
but I don't want to hear about it.
Perhaps you'd like to spend a holiday with your family and then we go. No. Do it now or you're dead to me.
Right. And I'm not going to give you a week and then come back, even though it seems very easy.
Pretty easy to go back and forth. And I'm not going to reassure you that we can come back and visit all the time.
No.
Just like, get on the ship, bitch.
And I'm not going to tell you even about what it's like up there.
No, nothing.
I'm not going to tell you that we'll have a home together, we can raise a family. Just like, no, we're going to be the only humans.
Right.
So if you or I get sick,
Right.
SOL.
See this weird dude? He's my best friend.
He's got a wife. You can be her best friend.
She dresses lovely.
She's a fine and fancy waifoid.
Right.
Sorry. Kim can't handle this picture, and it's
I love
the
it
best
so
thing
much.
ever.
Yeah, so
So no autonomy. Just
right.
like, hey.
And she's like,
you're
I
my
don't
woman.
think so. And then she goes back and she's like, oh well. And like 3 seconds later, she goes on the ship.
Because her grandma does kind of like, Granny's kind of like, come on, girl, go get it.
I guess so.
And then it's like, okay, wait, Alex.
Right.
Wait for me.
And then they're gone.
Yeah, and then they're gone, and that's their life. I mean, they smooch, and then they're gone.
Right.
Yeah, I think the message definitely is like, and he says to her too. He's like, he kind of like negs her a little bit or something, and he's like, well, what are you scared?
Yeah.
What are you scared of space?
Right.
Yes, I am. Can't we just make out here for a little bit? I don't want to go to
stay
space.
here. We'll go back and forth to space on the weekends.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or why don't you just come back on the weekends?
Yeah.
Like go to space, do your thing up there.
I'm going to get a job here and live my life.
Right.
We'll see each other.
Yeah. And then if this thing progresses.
Right. Maybe I'll come up and visit.
And then I'll see if I like
Right.
it. And then if I do,
we'll look at the schools.
we'll look at the schools. We'll see what we think. And I mean, I'm not ready to marry you.
Right.
I don't know.
You haven't even asked me if I'm going to marry you.
No. What am I going to go up there and just be your girlfriend
Right.
forever?
I don't think so.
Yeah, cut to. That's what the next Starfighter is. She's like unwed because he's just like he's
never home.
He's never home. He's always out fighting things. She's like, you care more about the death blossom than you care about me. And she had like, what would she even do up there?
She has an affair with Turtle Turd. And Waifoid is so sad.
Oh man. Yeah, so I feel like that's not a great thing. They don't even get into it. Like, I mean, she's really the only female character in this whole thing.
The mom is.
But they're not. They're like kind of background characters.
No. And the little brother.
Little brother is awesome.
Yeah, he is a highlight character, especially because he just has funny catchphrases. Like he sees them kiss in the beginning of the movie and he just says diarrhea rather than ew or gross. He just says diarrhea, which is funny.
It's funny. I did remember the part where he's like in bed and he sees the robot Alex like take off his head, and like fix it and everything.
Right.
It's funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
It's fun.
And he also is like, how old would you say that kid is?
Like 8.
Yeah, and he has a full Playboy collection.
Right.
And he opens one up at one point. He's like, Yolanda, or something like that. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But I mean, I feel like overall, it's fun. It's fine. Oh, and I did want to talk about like the special effects too. I feel like, I mean, they're not, like, I agree with what they were saying. They make it look like, because in the beginning when he's just playing the video game, you see the video game, which was definitely ahead of its time for that. Like, it wasn't a real video game that they were playing. But I thought that when they went out into space, it looked the same, which was kind of cool. It was like he was going into the video game.
And the spaceships and things like that remind me a lot of like current day cartoons. Like they were that level of animation. They weren't bad. It just looked like you switched from a real movie to a cartoon in some spots, but
which was fine. Which wasn't bad at all. Like, I mean, I feel like it was fun. It was fun, Kim.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing I thought about watching this was like this concept that you're special. Like that everybody, like that you are special. Nobody else in the world might think that you are, but you are special and great. I was just thinking, like, you know, they talk about all millennial kids. Like, that's a big thing with like millennial kids where
they all think they're special.
They all think they're special. They have a trophy. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I wonder if, you know, the people who were watching these movies who were like teenagers at that time are the parents of...
they definitely
are the parents of these kids. And if that message was definitely a message that was told to, like, when we were younger, because I don't think parents thought of kids in that way.
What, as special?
As special. Like, do you feel like it wasn't like everybody got a trophy or something like that? Like,
but I am special, so it's hard for me to tell.
Well,
and I was treated as such.
Well, I mean, I was treated as such as well, so maybe everybody treats their kids like. But like they didn't say that with our generation, and they had to tell parents, like, to remind parents where their kids were. So maybe our parents were ahead of their time by treating us as special.
See, but I think that we've talked about this before, and I think our specialness was our parents. Our parents fully were like, we're better than everyone else.
Well, we weren't going to be like, they were like, listen,
you're
like,
better than that.
You're better than that.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like you're better than everyone else. It's just like, no, like, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, we're not that.
That was a big thing in my house. Like, if you wanted to go hang out at a specific mall, like, we don't do that.
Right.
We
like,
don't
that's
hang out
basic.
Yeah, right. Right. This is something that our family doesn't do. And you very much understood. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I've messed up.
Yes. We are not. Yeah. Like, I feel like low life. Like, we're not that. Like, we don't do that thing. So I do think the message was growing up was very much like, yeah, like, we're going to do things. We do things different.
Translated it to I'm better than everyone else.
Well, yeah. I mean, you are. It's fine. We're special in many ways, shapes, and forms. But I think that maybe more of like that's become more of a thing with children being treated as so precious and like the helicopter. They are, but like that, it's like the helicopter parenting thing. I mean, it's definitely been a hallmark, I would say, of that generation.
Yeah. I got you.
But I mean, maybe it wasn't thought of that much back then. Did people feel special in the 80s?
Do you feel special, listener?
I think you should feel special.
You are
I mean, well, that was like the big thing with Mr. Rogers. He would like tell you that you're special.
And like that Miss Mary lady, remember she would look into the mirror?
Yes, on Romper Room.
Yeah.
And she would say your name and she would never say my name.
She wouldn't?
No, because Emily was not a big name when I was a kid. It's a big name now, but it was not a big name.
I recently saw a clip of that, and she would say like extra stuff too. She'd be like, I see Emily celebrating a birthday. So I think you had to like submit something.
I think there was a way to submit things at the end. But yeah, that was pretty great. That was pretty great. Yeah, Mr. Rogers, when he would just talk to you on the camera.
Bro down.
He would bro down and he'd just be like, are you ever scared? Like, sometimes.
All the time.
Of so many things, Mr. Rogers. And they'd be like, don't worry, come over here. I'm going to show you a video of how they make crayons.
I'm not allowed to come to an old man's house that I don't know, but I appreciate the offer.
Right, let's watch this video of how they make crayons.
Yeah.
And let's go to a factory with, like, toothpaste in it. And I'm like, okay. But then you would go to that weird puppet world where they were not.
The land of make-believe.
The land of make-believe. And frickin' missed, like, Lady Elaine.
Oh, I loved it there.
You liked it there?
Yeah. I like the sounds.
I liked the sounds of when he would take the models out and he would put them on, like, the track, and he would have them, and he would be like, okay, well, Lady Elaine, he'd kind of set up
Lady
the story.
Elaine was deformed.
Oh, yeah.
But
was Lady Elaine... No, Lady Elaine was the real... Or no, Lady Elaine was like the weird, deformed...
Yeah. And then there was a tiger.
Daniel Tiger.
Was it?
Yeah, and then there was, like, Owl.
Yeah.
There was an owl. There was the king. And the king had, like, a wife and who had, like, a little baby son.
And that wasn't Lady Elaine, wasn't his wife?
No, but there was a girl. I thought Lady Elaine... Who was the name of, like, the human girl that was there? There were a couple humans that would interact.
It's been a bit.
It has been a bit. But, yeah, when they went to the land of make-believe, it wasn't always my favorite time.
I don't know.
And then, like, he would go and he'd sit there and that little trolley would come and talk to him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
Oh, Kim's going to go watch some Mr. Rogers. Did you ever see that documentary?
No.
You want to cry?
No. Thank you, though.
That movie will give you the feel.
I'll bet.
For sure.
I'll bet it will.
So, yeah, so that was The Last Starfighter.
Okay.
And I'm happy that I watched it.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll watch it again for a long
I
time.
won't.
Yeah.
No,
I
it
don't
was fine.
think so either. It was fine. But
Sure.
it was cool. So do you want to hear the 6 Degrees of Spader?
Of course I do.
It's a really boring one. I
That's
felt like
okay.
I could have done better, but
I
then I
know.
was just like, you know what? Like, sometimes they're just not going to be great.
Is it... Oh.
You know what it is.
Is it McCarthy again?
Yes.
Ugh.
I
I'm going
mean-
to take him out. I'm going to take him out.
Oh, you can't take him out.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. Tell me.
He's the crux.
Tell me.
Okay, well, it's the girl.
Yeah, I know. She's in Weekend at Bernie's with Andrew McCarthy. Andrew McCarthy knows James Spader. We all know.
Well, fuck you. Great. I guess you get it then. Yeah, so that was it.
All right.
And you know what, though? At the same time, the whole point of 6 Degrees of Spader is just to show that James Spader is connected to every movie.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Because he's amazing.
We have to like obviously Google him a lot because we have to find the connection. And I always get articles where it's just like the ultimate bad boy, and we'll talk about. We need to watch that movie so we can talk about that Spader love.
What? Pretty in Pink?
Yeah.
We have an idea for our Pretty in Pink episode.
Oh, okay.
I have an
We
idea.
do.
I do. Because that's got to be a special one.
Yeah.
That's a very special movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we watched this movie, and now we're
done.
Now we're done for this time. What do we need to tell people right now?
That they should follow us on Instagram at Confidently Controversial. They should follow us on TikTok at Confidently Contro. We have a website,
We do have a website.
confidentlycontroversial.com, where you can link to all of our episodes and learn more about us.
Yeah. Oh, you know what we can also say
What?
for this end of this episode is that starting our next episode, we are getting into
Spooky season.
spooky season. It's right around the corner. So
Yeah.
we're going to be doing some special things throughout the month of October. So get excited.
Boo.
Boo, you whore.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Confidently controversial.